Good afternoon. It's 12:01 and I'm a minute late. Oh my goodness, slapped wrist. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Karen Curitan, social media trainer and mentor, working with businesses and individuals to help them get more clients. And this is the joys of working from home. My doorbell's just gone, which is really good, but I'm just going to just totally ignore it, even though they'll see my car there. So today I am joined by the fabulous Anne Walsh. Good afternoon, Anne.
Hi, Karen. Lovely to be here as I beam in from the west of Ireland. Don't you just
The
love
west
technology?
of
Yeah.
Ireland. What's
Yes,
the
west of.
weather like in the west of Ireland today?
It's actually a beautiful day. It's because I think, yeah, it's a beautiful day today. It's lovely and sunny, and yeah, it's glorious, fantastic.
Fab, fab. And it is a bit the same here, except it's cold and I've got my jacket on because I'm
Okay.
cold, which isn't good. So Anne and I have known each other for a little while now, probably coming up to about 3 years, I think,
Yeah,
in that we met through the Trainer Talk community, which is hosted by the fabulous. We've got to say that, haven't we? Otherwise she'll
totally.
remove us.
That's right. Number
The,
one fan. Yeah, that's
no,
right. One
absolutely.
and two. Absolutely, yes. We're in our fan club. Yeah, we're
We're,
fangirls.
we're in the
Yeah.
Sharon Gaskin fan club. So if you're
Yes.
watching, Sharon, pop in and say hello. And while I remember everybody, if anybody's joining us, please do pop any questions because Anne is the queen of Excel. I am officially the Excel fool because I was just saying to Anne before we came on live that I just get so overwhelmed by it. And
Mm.
do you want to just introduce yourself a little bit, Anne, and tell us who you work with and what you do with them?
Well, I think I've been freelance since the mid '90s, as I always like to say to my son. That's the 1990s, not the 1890s, right? But and I've written a couple of books on Excel called Your Excel Survival Kit, and I've written a number of books for Bookboon. I tend to work with a kind of a cross section of people, so I'll kind of work with like, so today, for example, I might be working with people from the public sector, and then in the afternoon I'm working with multinationals and sometimes with sort of charity. So I kind of work with a cross section of people. Basically, my experience is that people are terrified of Excel. Do you know what I mean? They really are. It's like, yeah. Do you want to go for a long walk off a short pier, or do you want to do a spreadsheet? I don't know. I think that walk is looking good. Yeah, a lot of people are really terrified of Excel, which is a
Mm.
pity because 750 million people worldwide use Excel. So it is. Microsoft put a lot of money into it. So it's, yeah. So I work with kind of people who are kind of nervous about Excel, maybe have tried it a bit and are a bit kind of intimidated by it. So, and just to start to understand what it can do for you. Yeah.
And to quote the lovely Sharon, do you have a particular niche?
Well, it's very funny you should ask me that question because it does happen to be Excel. Funny enough, yeah, yeah. I'm called the Excel lady because I would meet people sometimes from classes and say, you can't remember your name, but you're the Excel lady. Yeah. All right. Even when I was getting my COVID jab, it was like, oh, I know you. You're the Excel lady. And as I was saying, thank God it wasn't something more embarrassing. But that
And
would
it,
be,
and it is, and and the thing is, it is that, isn't it? Because
yeah,
there's so much within the Microsoft portfolio, but
absolutely.
but you've chosen entirely. So within your Excel niching purely in Excel, is there a particular kind of clients? I know you said that you work in different sectors, but is there one that you found been really beneficial for you?
I think the clients I enjoy the most working with are people who have probably an element of taught themselves and they've
Mm,
Googled it and so on. So they've grappled with it a little bit. So they already have parts of their brain that's kind of like, has the Excel light on.
mm,
And then
mm.
when I kind of work with them, I say, well, you can do this or do that. And these are things you can work on. It's very, a lot of light bulbs start to go off for them. So I think people who have grappled with it a little bit themselves
Mm,
and
mm.
maybe kind of struggled and found, well, why didn't that work or why didn't that work? I really enjoy kind of saying, well, if you try this works, or the reason that didn't work is because that's not how Excel works. So yeah, those are my kind of, but I'd say possibly, you know um, like I said, across, I've companies in the third sector, non-profit,
Yeah.
multinationals, and small business. Yeah.
So do you think there's a particular, what do you think is the biggest mistake that people like me who are frightened of it, what do you think is the biggest mistake we make with Excel?
The biggest mistake I think people make is they don't set up their data correctly. All right. As I like to say, lots of space is great if you're an architect, but in a spreadsheet, you want to have things nice and tidy, put together, and like with like. I kind of have a mantra that I go on about, which is, no blank rows, no blank columns, and your headings should be like an amoeba, one cell. All right.
Very
And if you
good.
do, then it tends to work. Yeah.
So I think that's the thing is, I mean, I started, I think it was about 5 years ago. There's a lady in our networking group who's an account. Well, she's not account. She's more like your virtual CFO. And
Yeah.
she contacted me and she says, I'm trialing this spreadsheet for managing your accounts.
Mm,
And she says, I wonder, because you've admitted that you're a bit of a numpty, if you would like to test drive it for me. And it was really interesting because then I started to see some of the capabilities. I didn't create it. I've got to say that. She created it.
yeah.
And what it was brilliant because I have these different tabs set up, and every day I'm like a little good schoolgirl. Somebody tells me to do something, I do it. Every day I log in there and I input any expenses, my mileage, and then any sales I export from my Excel invoice goes
Mm,
straight into that document. And then I cross-reference if there's any payments come in. And at the end of it, there's another tab which shows me how much I've invoiced, how much I've paid, where I've spent my money. And it's so clever.
mm,
And you
yeah.
think,
Yeah.
wow, that is just so clever. Because my husband said to me the other day, don't you use something like QuickBooks or Zero or something like that? And I went, no, actually, I just do it all on my spreadsheet and it does
Mm.
what I need it to do. And do you think maybe we underestimate Excel, Anne?
I'm kind of smiling to myself as you say it because I do all my accounts on QuickBooks. I wouldn't do my account on Excel. That's the truth. That's the truth because my theory is that maybe, yeah, I could developing something in Excel, but somebody else has done all the work in QuickBooks. Like I can go into my QuickBooks and see it. So I think it's more, yeah, it's really, really clever. But I think one of the things people sometimes, and this I'd be as prone to this as anybody, so you kind of get stuck in as opposed to kind of saying, well, maybe what do I need here? And it's a good idea, I think, if you want to learn about Excel, is maybe say, okay, what are the things that I need to do? And can I find somebody to tell me, either by
Mm,
Googling or some other way, can I find somebody to tell me what's the name of the feature that does that? Because if you go to Google and say how to do a chart in Excel, I mean,
mm.
15 million entries will kind of be spat out at you immediately. So yeah, I think you would almost kind of pause there. Well, what exactly do I want to do with it first? Yeah,
Sure, sure.
yeah.
And I think that's the thing is that there is so much capability. So you've got some tips that you're going to share with us today, Alan. So tell
Yes.
tell tell me what you've got, what pearls of wisdom you've got.
Well, I suppose I had a couple of things in mind. Because we kind of were talking about the data, I'm going to start with kind of like how you'd set up a list, and I'll show you what I mean in a minute by list in Excel, and how you can kind of get stuff out of it. Also to look at the capability in Excel of creating a chart, because I always say charts like the French fries in Excel. Would you like a chart with that? Do you know what I mean? You go to McDonald's. Would you like it? Would you like French fries with that? It's like, oh yes, I'd like a chart with that, please. Thank you very much. All right. And the other one then is there's a thing called flash fill, which I'm a recent kind of convert to. It was like Excel is always coming out with new things. So this was one of these things I was kind of like, oh, it's all right. And then I was doing a bit on, I think, oh yes, that could be quite handy for things. So those are the three things I just want to show you today. I'll show the
Fabulous.
lovely people who are
Fabulous.
here today. So let
Okay.
me share my screen here now.
Mhm. Joys of technology.
The joys of technology. All right.
There we
So,
go.
okay, lovely. All right. So what I have here is a list of names and surnames, okay? And the first thing I just want to say is that these come from a website called Fake Name Generator. So if you ever need to generate a fake name for yourself or a friend, or you have
Love
someone that
it.
needs a fake name Generator I always think that's the final proof that, you can get anything you want on the internet.
God, that's
Yeah,
incredible.
it is, yeah. So when you're setting up a list, whatever it is, just in the first row up here, just put in your headings, okay? Really simple, all right? And the second thing to do is that when you're entering them, try and make it up so that things are spelt the same way. So for example, I have the Shire here, and the Shire is spelt the same way all the time. Really, these are all kind of simple things about setting up your list. And then I got this from another trainer, which is just, if I, for example, want to sort this by, let's say, by order of surname, if I go up here to data, and then I go up here to A to Z. See there, A to Z? So data A to
Yeah.
Z. It sorts it in alphabetical order of surname automatically. Okay. But I have this kind of yellow band on it. It doesn't have to be yellow. And it's just a great trick I got from another trainer, which is, and what it does is that it basically says, it means that your data is maintained, the integrity. So even if you sort it here, see there's that yellow band, she's a
Yeah.
female hobbit. So even if I come over here and I sort by department and go Z to A, see there, she's still, in the same one. It's a really
I
simple little
understand.
trick. Yeah, yeah. And then you can also do like a quick filter. So click up here, go to data, go to filter, and let's say I just want to see all the hobbits, and there you go. So you can just see all your hobbits in one go. And then to see them back, you just go up here to clear. Okay. So if you're setting up a list, those are kind of like the principles. And you can see there's no blank rows or columns. Okay. If you want to set up one yourself, you could just do over here. For example, I've just got first name. So for example, I could just go here, let's say, Karen, I'm going to pick on you. Is that all right?
That's fine.
Are you happy to be a guinea pig, are you?
I'll be a guinea pig, yeah.
You'll be a guinea pig, okay. So roughly, let's say, what would be, do you want to give me maybe a fake address?
One main street.
Yeah.
Leicester. Let's give a made-up one. So people come knocking on my door, chasing me. Leicestershire.
Okay, lovely. And then we'll say a postcode. I'm just going to do a makey-uppy.
Do a makey-uppy one.
Yeah.
LE1.
Yeah.
1EF.
1EF. Lovely.
I know that because that's the one I sometimes use on LinkedIn as my postcode.
Lovely. Okay. Now, say then we'll just put in one more person. So we'll pick on Sharon Gaskin. We'll call her name in vain. All right?
Yes.
Okay. And we'll say she is living in, let's say, I'm going to put down Swansea. And I'm going to put her postcode SW1. This is obviously makey-uppy again. And then United Kingdom. And as I enter it, it does that. So if you're doing a list, you see there, no blank rows, columns, make the first row bold.
Yeah.
Home and bold. Because then Excel knows it's kind of a list. And if I click here, and I go to data, and then let's say I go to filter, let's say what I can do is let's say I can filter out. See there? It comes up with this automatically.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I have it and go to clear. So that's just a little bit about setting up your lists. And if your data set up like that in Excel, generally speaking, it'll be good for it's fit for purpose, as it were.
Right. Sure.
Any other things on the list? Otherwise, I'll show you about charts.
No, that's really good. That's really good because I'm always trying to create lists and fail miserably.
Yeah, it's a real simple thing. Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like with like, and the reason why you don't want a gap there is that Excel kind of comes through a gap and it kind of says, oh, I think I'll stop here. So it means if you had, we've come to a full close and it doesn't actually jump over the gap and include the other data in it. So you could end up with where all of a sudden, your Harding Brandy book, Male Hobbit, suddenly is no longer from the Shire or comes from somewhere else. Can't do that to poor Harding Brandy book.
Right? No.
Okay, now if you look at charts, okay, so let me just zoom up here now, my charts. So if I want to make a chart of this, and people do love a chart, there's a little keyboard shortcut you can use.
What love a keyboard shortcut?
Control and Shift and 8. So if I click here, and I press Control and Shift together and then press 8 on my keyboard, that selects the entire thing.
Cool.
And then I've got here to Insert. And there's this great thing in Excel called Recommended Charts. Okay. So what it will do is that it will actually look at your data and say, a bit like a very good, server person when you go into a restaurant and you ask what's good here or what can you
Yeah.
recommend. Excel says, here you have, I think you should have some of these. All right. And you see there, it comes up with a whole bunch of different
Clever.
charts. All right. And I can pick one here and then I click OK. And that's my chart done.
Wow.
Yeah.
So easy.
Just like that.
Wow.
And then if you want to if you change something, so for example, if I come here, let's say January, my audiobooks, were actually 1,350. If you look here, watch what happens when I update here.
It automatically does it.
Automatically kind of comes in as well then.
Clever. So you've created that chart from the data, and if the data changes, the chart automatically updates.
Automatically, yeah.
Excellent. Love it.
Yeah. And then if I click here, I can kind of just change my title to sales of books and audio books.
So you could have that running as an ongoing chart for performance and stuff like that.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic. Love it.
And if you want to let's say you want to add a target, maybe of a target of, let's say maybe, I'm just going to put in one here, let's say maybe target of 1,000. What you do is you'd enter the 1,000 in here and just enter it all the way down.
Yeah.
Like so. All right. And you see there, what it'll do is that it will put in a little, you'll see a line there somewhere. See there, the little line.
Yeah, I can see that. Green line.
Yeah. And I can go here and let's see if it let me change it to a line chart. Sometimes it will and sometimes it won't. Let's see, I'm going to make that a line chart.
Fantastic.
See there?
Yeah.
All right. So that's just I think if the key thing would be if you just get your data and let Excel recommend a chart to you, that's probably one of the handiest things you can kind of do with it.
It is, because you're not trying to reinvent the wheel.
No.
It's already, the work's been done, hasn't it, I suppose? And that shortcut's really great.
Yeah, and then if you come over here then to this one, you see there's a little paintbrush.
Yeah.
So you can choose different color styles on it as well. So if you want to choose different colors.
My lovely friend, business friend and personal friend, Claire's just said she loves this. She wants to be an Excel expert. Well, Anne is the lady. She is the queen of Excel, Claire. It's fantastic, isn't it? I love.
But there's no reason. Yeah.
You can change the colors, so you could then make your colors into your brand colors, I suppose, if you were doing it as a presentation.
If you're doing it as a presentation, you could do it that way. There's an option here that says change your colors. You see there, where it actually tells you that if you want to change the colors, this will be, this will be how do I change these colors? Click on that. I think one of the key things to think about too is that if you're willing to kind of take the time, like a lot of things, to get to know it a bit better, usually it'll say to you, I think you need this, which is kind of quite important as well. All right.
Absolutely.
Okay, and then the last thing I want to show you then is the thing on flash fill. Okay.
So this sounds a bit dodgy, Anne. It's lunchtime on a Tuesday. It sounds a bit dodgy. Tell us what flash fill means.
Well, it won't make you a flasher if that's any good. That hasn't happened yet. Anytime I've shown this here. Okay, so let's say, for example, you have a scenario where you've got like a first name, a surname, and you've got a Hobbit name. And you need to make an email address out of that. Okay. Now you can do that with a formula. Of course you can. All right. But what you can do as well is there's a thing called flash fill, which will kind of do it for you. So if I go, you start off by giving it an example. Okay. So I go nina.headstrong@hobbitname.com. Right. And what you do then is, and you have to I have to be careful with this sometimes, is that if I highlight down to here, because I wanted to do the same thing for me for all my other list of names here.
Yeah.
All right. So there's two ways I can do that. I can go to home, and then if I go over here to fill, see there, fill.
Yeah.
And then there's flash fill.
Yeah.
Right? So if I go flash fill, let me do it again now. You see there, it fills in
Wow.
the whole off me automatically.
Goodness
Right.
me. And there
Yeah.
must be so many different uses for this flash fill then.
Once you give it a pattern, it's really, really handy. Now I have another one here. And let's say, for example, I just want to pick out the first 7 characters. I don't know why you pick out just the first, but you just do. I want to pick out the first 7 characters. So you begin by giving it a pattern.
Yeah.
And then if I highlight down to there, let's say I want to do it down to there. And you can either do Control and E, which fills it in for you. See there? Control and
All
E,
right. Yeah.
little keyboard shortcut. Or if I do Control Z, that does your undo. And don't we all wish we had an undo button?
Oh,
At least
God, yeah.
I certainly know that at times, plenty of times, I wish I had an undo button. You know those times when you kind of think, I didn't just say that, did I? Yes,
Oh,
I
I
did.
know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
It's like when your filter's being switched off.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, that's the one. Or if I go here then to fill and then just flash fill. All right. Once you give it a pattern, that's the
Yeah.
secret. You give it a pattern, you kind of say, I want this. And then if I picked out the first 4 characters here, if I do Control Shift arrow down, I probably don't want to do the whole lot. Just highlight to there. Now I will say that sometimes I've done flash fill and it doesn't always work. It's not always accurate, but for things like this, that you could
Yeah.
do the formula, but it's going to be quite fiddly and messy to do it.
Yeah.
And again, I could just do see there, Control and E just does it. So Control and E fills it down as well.
That's fantastic.
So those were the 3 things I wanted to show you.
They are
Right.
brilliant. Thank you so much. And now I've got one last question for you.
Sure. Yeah.
If you had to pick out your favorite feature in Excel, what would it be?
Oh, I do love me an if function.
Right. And why? Why?
I think because it was one of the first, there's an element of nostalgia. I think it was one of the first functions that I learned. And it's very powerful. And it's almost like when you're doing it, particularly for the more complex ones, it's almost like doing a puzzle. Like you kind of say, if I do this, this will be one thing. If I do something else, it'll be another one. Or I also like pivot tables as well, because it allows you to really summarize. You can take your thousands and thousands of rows of data and create a nice little tidy table that says, you know, these are the millions we did in such and such a place and so on. Yeah, those would be my 2.
That's fantastic. So Anne, thank you so much for joining me
Thank you
today.
too. Thank you.
You've taken away some of my fear of Excel, because I always just hover by the undo button because I think, oh
We
my
all know
word,
it. Yeah.
oh my word, what have I done? And it is, but I totally see that there are so many tools within Excel that you can use to make your business life easier.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Well,
Absolutely.
Anne, thank you so much for joining me today. And anybody who wants to connect with Anne, I'm going to put her contact details in the comments after our live today.
Lovely.
Do get in touch with her, because what this lady doesn't know about Excel isn't worth knowing.
At least I know where to find it. Yeah.
Yeah. Have a great rest of the day.
You too.
Take
Thank
care.
you so much, Karen. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Lovely.